Uh, I'm laughing because we had a touching introduction before we started this, and I love to laugh. Laughter is my big medicine. But welcome back to Arachnoiditis Unfiltered, not unlimited. We made that mistake last time, and we had such an abrupt cutoff, so we wanted to start this one again. Same clothes, same day, hours apart. Um, But anyway, welcome back, Sarah. You look so awesome. I love your smile. It's so infectious.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So glad to be here.
Yeah.
Today we're going to be talking about your story and your, challenges with arachnoiditis. So, however you want to open that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I first want to start to talk about Boomer, who I know is your dog, and you had to recently take him to the emergency room. I had to take my dog almost exactly this time last year to the emergency room after she got attacked. We were sitting in the backyard of my sister's house
Oh.
drinking coffee on a nice cool morning. The dogs, her dog and mine, were out playing, and literally 2 yards over, and she lives on an acreage, so we're talking
Mhm.
quite a ways. Two
Yeah.
dogs scaled the two fences, two chain link fences, and attacked my dog. And my sister keeps telling me, which it was very traumatic for me and her both to watch this happen. But my dog came back straight in front of me as if to protect.
Yeah.
A 65-pound golden doodle that is, she brings me so much peace, and she knows when I'm stressing, and she's always under my feet when that happens. Um, they literally attacked her, ripped her skin from the muscle. She had to have a Penrose drain put in, had several staples. And every time we go back now, when I walk out of the house and I close the door behind me and she's left inside, it's the worst howl ever. I
He
mean,
wants to protect you. Yeah.
and they process trauma the same way that we do, I think.
Sure.
Uh,
Yeah.
so anyway, how's Boomer? And there's a close connection with me and Boomer because I'm a Boomer Sooner, an OU alumni,
Right.
and I love that. And I don't know if you thought about this, but Sarah Lewis and Steve Lovelace, SL.
Oh, yeah, that is crazy, right? What
Isn't
are the
it?
odds of that? Who knows? But Boomer's doing a lot better. So I had to take him into surgery, and he had his tendon exposed from being attacked. We don't know what attacked him, but on his rear leg. And then a few days after, he decided to open his wound by eating his sutures. So I had
Oh,
to take it back in. And now he has about 15 staples to his leg. So he's not touching it now because I have the cone of shame on and
wow.
he's getting it off. That's the third one we went through to,
The
get
cone
it.
of- I love
Cone of shame. So, but
that.
he's doing better. So,
Up was the best
always.
movie ever, right? I mean, just it was a great I mean, I laugh, I watch it every single time. And truly, my dog hates squirrels much.
Oh, yeah, ours too. Yeah.
They hang upside down and they chirp at her, and it just drives her crazy.
Yeah, it's like they're taunting them, right? It's
Exactly, exactly.
like,
But that's what pets bring to our life is
joy.
distraction,
Yeah.
comfort, and you know what?
Great therapy. Yeah.
Yeah, when you come home, their tail's always wagging,
Yeah.
and they are so welcome to see you. And that is such a welcome feeling when you have a disease that is so life-sucking, right?
Yeah.
I
Right.
mean, to have
Yeah,
that
you just want
comfort.
someone there for you, right? That
Yeah.
understands without just, prejudging you all
Oh,
the
yeah.
time.
Yeah. Well,
That's
they're judges by how much you care about them, right?
right.
They will
Right.
bite the hand that
Pet
feeds
me,
them.
feed me, and that's all
Exactly.
they want. They
Exactly.
just want love. So,
Yeah. We will have a whole nother episode on pets,
right,
all
right.
types, snakes included, which I can't stand, but whatever.
Right. Whatever makes the other person
Yeah,
happy. Yeah.
exactly.
Right.
So, this episode, what are we going to title it? Our stories?
Your story today, right?
Yeah,
Or am I don't think we have enough time to do both, but
but no, but this will be a two-parter, so it will be your story and mine
yeah,
as well. So,
introducing our, hosts. That way
yeah.
they understand that we are just patients like them, truly, you know.
People in
Yeah,
general.
we're people, we're everyday people. We're
Exactly.
just like
Yeah. Yeah. We're
everybody
not,
else.
we did not set out on this venture to be famous, monetize. I mean, if all that comes as a result, that was not our focus. We're here to be advocates and make
Right.
a
And for me, like if any monetary, anything like that comes, it's going to be going into research and help to, bring, you know, no agony for anybody. That's what my dream is ultimately.
yeah.
Get a
Well, I
cure
mean,
for everybody, but
that's us at the core. We're caregivers, right?
right.
I mean, we empathize, we don't sympathize. There's a big difference.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Very
And
much
I mean, I was
so.
taught that was like day one in my x-ray program. You don't sympathize with anybody. You empathize, which means you care in general. Sympathy is kind of almost a bad term, and I don't like sympathy, to be honest. For me personally,
Okay.
it's a negative connotation because it means that they pity me, and I do not want to be pitied. I
Right.
want to be uh, I don't know.
Well, we want to be on the same level as everybody else in
Yeah,
society. And
yeah,
all we really truly need and want is pain control and or, just collaboration with other people,
100.
like-minded, that understand what we're going through. Because that's the hardest part. Like, even for my husband, like I've told you before, he's a nurse. And some days I have to remind him, like, we're not talking about me, but it's hard. It's a struggle. So,
Yeah, we need that board that says good day, bad day, survival day. That way they
right.
relate to where we are.
Circle it every morning.
And you know what? Just move the face around so that they know how to interact with us because you do
Sure.
need a different way of interacting depending on the day you're in.
Absolutely.
If you're having a good day, come at me. I mean, we're
Right.
full
Yeah.
force, right?
Right.
Survival days, um,
Stay away. Yeah. Right.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely, yeah, watch out.
Yeah.
So
Right.
anyway, without further ado, here's my story. And I mean, should I go like way back to what?
Yeah, I would kind of fill us in on your whole history because I think that it's important for everybody to understand. Yeah, I would. I think that's great.
Okay, so I mean, if I'm going back to day one, honestly, I'm going back to conception. And I only found this out recently when talking to my mom who has dementia. But we've been kind of going back through the things that she remembers. And we were talking because I'm writing a book about my story. Um, and it was on the night of my conception, the night she and my father were together. And after they had their session, whatever you want to call it, he got up and told her that he was leaving. That was the night that I was conceived. Yeah. So I was left at that point, but he eventually came back because my mom's birth weight was so low compared to the statistics that say where she should have been. And he was back for 4 years, but it was 4 years of, me not remembering, just kind of having misery. I remember a few things where he was there, but eventually he left when I was 4 years old. From four till maybe about, man, seven. It was the summer that we had the moon landing. I was abused physically by him. My sister came to my rescue as much as she could. She remembers, all that he did, and the worst of it was, um, there was one day that I was at the apartment complex that he lived at. My stepbrothers, whose name were literally Laney and Zany, um, we were throwing a frisbee around. It was a two-story apartment complex. The frisbee went up on the flat roof of the apartment complex, and there were trellises that were on the outside, kind of, I don't know if they were structural, but one of my stepbrothers climbed up on top of the roof to get the frisbee,
Yeah.
and my dad drove up at that point in time, his after work. I mean, it was. the full-on melee, as you can imagine, get down from there, a lot of F-bombs passing back and forth. And they went inside, and because these were my stepbrothers and he was not married to this woman at this point, I was kind of the whipping pole. I was made to, and this is in my book, and I've never revealed this online, but I was made to basically pull my pants down and hang from the top bunk of a bed bunk while he took a belt and whipped it back and forth. That will that will break you and that will make you, those types of moments. That moment defined how tough I was going to be for the rest of my life. A few years later, my mom was in a car wreck that nearly killed her. She was in the hospital. They had to do open heart massage. We didn't know CPR back then, right? So it was basically she was in cardiac arrest. They had to rip her open. She bears the scar to this day. And they did open heart massage. They saved her life. But after that, we were sent, my sister and I, to our grandparents to live. And that's kind of where my abandonment issues came in because my father had left when I was 4. He was gone after I was 7, thank God. And then my mom was gone. But that's also where I developed this relationship with my grandparents, my grandfather especially, because I had this positive male influence in my life. And life went on from there until I was 14. And I was quite the pill as a kid. Not super bad way. I just, I lacked a lot of influence in my life because my mom she had a high school education. She was a secretary raising 2 kids in the 60s and 70s on a secretary's income. We grew up poor. There was almost always more room in our cabinets than there was food, but I learned how to survive. And um, at 14, I got shipped off to my grandparents to live with them for 2 years. And that's truly when my life changed. I had my grandfather in my life constantly. He was a positive influence, and I loved him with all my heart. He was such a gentle man, but he was firm in the fact that we went to church on Sundays and Wednesdays. Um, but that was a good thing. Uh, and then in 1982, after I graduated college, or after I had started college, rather, um, he had a heart attack and he passed away. And that affected me deeply to the point where I went to move back with my grandmother, who was also a nurse in World War II, won the
Wow.
Bronze Star. She was on Anzio, which was they called Hell's Half Acre. During surgery, they were being shelled and shrapnel was coming through the tents, and she laid across her patient to protect him, wearing a battle helmet during surgery. And she was always my hero uh, after that. And I had such great respect for her. Um, so I went back to the family farm, and it was November 30th, 1982, when I was cutting down a tree. And the tree did what they call a barber chair, which in lumberjack terms is one of the most fearsome things to happen when you're cutting a tree because the tree kind of splits in half. And as we were cutting on the half that was still attached to the ground, I was looking up at it. And I'll never forget this moment. I was just thinking, how bad would it be if somebody got caught between those two halves? And literally, the next thing that happened, I'm waking up, pinned to the ground by this massive tree that covered me from my head to my legs, and the massive weight was laying across my legs. And as I did a self-assessment, I figured out that I was paralyzed instantly. I could not feel the weight of this tree on my legs. Difficulty breathing. I mean, I didn't know what had just happened, but my friend Scott at the time that was helping me cut on this tree um, was trying to cut the half down to get me free, pinned free from this. And the chainsaw got stuck. And it was just a series of incidents right after that uh, the car flooded that we were driving. He had to run more than 2 miles to find help. Finally found help. but it took 2 hours to get me cut free and get me into an ambulance. And kind of long story short, I was in the hospital for 3.5 months, but when I entered the ER initially, they told me that I would never walk again. But I defiantly, as a 20-year-old, said, I'm walking out of this hospital. And 3.5 months later,
Yeah.
I took 4 huge steps. I mean, it was like the moon landing for me.
Absolutely. Yeah, I can't even imagine. Yeah.
And I mean, my that's when my journey began back to health, to a real life, to an active life as a young man. That, being disabled back in the 80s was there was a huge stigma attached to it. Now, disabled people advertise for car companies and for medical companies. I mean, we are like kind of been brought to the forefront of look what the heck we can do. And I was one of those people back then, but it just wasn't televised. And really, my claim to fame and my story kind of comes full circle. In 1985, I was watching TV and I saw ABC's Wide World of Sports um, presenting the Hawaiian Ironman triathlon. And I had always been an athlete before my accident. I did all these sports. I was good at pretty much everything that I did. I was just naturally gifted, not to, pat myself on the back,
Right.
but I was.
Right.
And I saw this and I thought, you know what? This is my sport. It's demanding, it's suffering, which had at that point I was good at because I had been in pain since right as my accident happened. And so I started training for triathlon. And then June of 1986, I towed the line to my first triathlon ever. It was a niche sport back then. It was in its seventh year. So it was pretty brand new. It was not well advertised. I knew nothing of how to do this sport except it was three sports: swimming, biking, and running. And to be honest, the only distance that I'd ever done completely was running. I'd done a couple of 10Ks before this, but I'd never done the entire thing together.
Wow.
So I was really out of my element, but I towed the line. The night before, it had rained like a monsoon rain. The lake had swelled. I ended up sleeping, if you want to call it sleep, in a Volkswagen Bug. Uh, yeah, I know, right? And I mean, there was no sports nutrition knowledge back then.
Right.
I don't know.
Whatever you got your hands on, if that, yeah.
I don't even know that I ate that night or that
Sure.
morning, in fact,
Right.
but I did the distance. And at the end of my run, I ended up running off to the woods for a bio break. And as I come out of the woods, I see the sweet vehicle behind me. And I knew that signaled that I was in last place, but I was not going to quit. And
Right.
yeah, I pushed
You
forward.
did it, so that is all that matters.
I mean, that's just kind of the struggle that I'd been through, knowing that I could go. And as I rounded the corner and came out of the woods and saw the stage, the announcer said, "Hey, let's give a announcement, or give a shout out to our last athlete," which one that validated me. Again, I'm an athlete despite everything that I'd been through, despite the ability that I had at that moment. I
Mhm.
was considered an athlete, and that meant everything to me. But crossing that finish line changed my life so much, and it brought me to this point, which, you know what, it gave me a purpose. It gave me so much confidence. I went on to graduate college. I graduated at the top of my class in radiology. Um, I went on to work at Children's Hospital because I wanted to give back. I went into medical because I'd spent so much time behind the scenes as a patient, and I
Yeah.
wanted to give back. And so that's kind of brought me full circle to where I'm at. But when I crossed that finish line, nobody knew my story back then. I didn't really share it all that often until most recently. But that's when I found out that I was one of the first disabled athletes, the first with a spinal cord injury, second ever documented to have completed a triathlon. And you know what? That inspired
That's amazing. Yeah.
a paratriathlon event. I mean, how many people are a pioneer of a paratriathlon event, right? That you know of. So that
Yeah.
that's my claim to fame. I don't say that lightly. I don't say that to, to promote myself other than the fact that I want to promote my story, to promote our disease, to make a difference, to be that advocate.
Yeah.
So, that's me. There's a lot more after that.
Right.
Spine fluid leak, bacterial meningitis, heart attack, heart attack, heart attack, 9 stents. But you know what? I still wake up, I put a smile on my face despite my most painful days. And I promote the fact that we're still productive and we still have a purpose. And that's why we're doing this, you and I.
Right. Pain's giving us a different purpose in life, but
Yeah.
it's still a purpose. So I just wanted to ask a few questions about your condition. So when you got the spinal cord injury back in, you said 86?
82.
82. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
I don't know.
Okay. So you were in the hospital. They told you you would never walk again. And I I know you walked again. So what happened? What was the transformation there? Did you have surgery? Was it rehab?
Yeah. So I had multiple surgeries, facial surgery. My jaw was broken. My forehead was fractured. My hard palate was fractured. My left wrist was fractured. And obviously three crest vertebrae, L3, 4, and 5. Um, what had happened was, I guess there was just so much inflammation that happened immediately that it cut off the supply of nerves below my waist, which is where the paralysis came in. And this was pre-MRI, and there might have been a single slice CT available somewhere in the US at the
Right.
time.
Sure.
But I mean, this was really during when technology was being developed. So they did not know what was going on. And the truth is that every surgeon, every neurosurgeon, every orthopedic surgeon was passing me by with two exceptions. They both stepped up and said, we'll take this on because my case was so, I mean, to describe the neurosurgeon that did my hardware removal in 2000, he said it looked like a hand grenade had gone off in the middle of your back. I mean, it was just that fragmented and that messed up. And so they took me on. As it turns out, the paralysis was temporary because of the swelling. As it went down, my pain increased, obviously, below the waist. I started feeling so much pain in my feet. And that's truly when I think arachnoiditis began, because you have three major ways that arachnoiditis will present itself, which one is trauma, either accidental or by surgical means. Two is meningitis. Three is through like a lumbar puncture or a
Epidural.
myelogram. Yeah,
Right.
epidural.
Sure.
Um, and all it does is, when that pinprick happens, it starts the cascade of an auto-inflammatory disease. Some of us are prone, obviously,
Right.
or young women, which I fear because of the EPIs for pregnancy. I think I'm not a man, or I am a man. I'm not a woman that can have a child, but I would say that if you're considering an epidural, consider it heavily, because I know so
They
many
need to
young
know
women,
the risks. Yeah.
absolutely, that have children that are in so much pain when it should be the most joyful part of their life. They're suffering. And if it doesn't happen then, it will happen on down the line, much like your case.
Yeah.
Uh, so, yeah, consider your options, not medical advice, just,
Right.
it's
Make sure
really
you know
serious,
there's risks involved. Also, that's
100%. And
also
that's one of the biggest ones because it's never going to give up on you. Uh,
right.
so yeah, my pain turned out to be temporary, or my paralysis turned out to be temporary at that point. But um, even if it hadn't, I would have been an athlete in a wheelchair.
Sure.
I
I
just,
don't doubt it. You
yeah.
for sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And I recently met Bill Rogers, who has won the New York or the Boston Marathon on several occasions. He's very uh, uh, famous athlete. he knew the first wheelchair athlete to ever complete that. And for me to make that connection to him and him to have that connection to that wheelchair athlete means so much. And he told me how amazing he thought I was, which, wow. I mean, this guy,
Right,
I
yeah.
know, right? Yeah. It's like, my story resonates. And I'm glad to be able to share it with others in hopes that, it will inspire them to just get
Yeah.
up and walk, a block, walk 100 yards, walk a mile.
Anything, just movement is key. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So another question, did you ever go back and visit that tree?
I did.
I bet.
And it was a big SOB, let me tell you. I
Yeah.
mean, we're talking 30 plus inches across. And if you've ever picked up a log and smashed it on your finger accidentally, imagine a whole tree making an impact with your body. And truly, Sarah, my story is nothing short of a miracle. The way this thing came together on me at the same time, not to just sever my spinal cord, but to just impact it simultaneously and explode the vertebrae.
Right.
And
How are you still here?
exactly.
But that's our point. There's a purpose,
Yes, absolutely.
you know.
100%.
Yeah, there's
100%.
a purpose. We're
Yeah.
all still here for some, greater purpose, whatever that is.
Yeah. It
We're
might
trying to
take
figure that out, but yeah, go
it
ahead.
might take you a while to realize it like it did me. I mean, this
Yeah,
happened in 82. We're in 2025, right?
right,
So 43 years later. Uh,
right.
yeah, and next year will be the anniversary of my triathlon,
Oh,
my
wow.
first triathlon. So yeah, we'll have a big show on that one.
Right.
I might get there's a gentleman that I consider him a friend. His name is Bob Babbitt. He founded Challenged Athletes Foundation, which is a huge organization for challenged athletes. They provide grants for training, for travel, and for equipment. I've been a recipient of three pieces of equipment as a result of them. I've been on his podcast. He's got another new podcast out for aging athletes, which, you
Okay.
know, I'm 62, so go figure, and I'm
Right.
still athletic. I'll be on that show promoting our show when that opportunity comes. But
Nice.
they're an outstanding organization, and if giving money to arachnoiditis research is important, giving money to that organization for me as well is equally important.
Absolutely. And that's just it. Like, we need so much money to go around. There's so many people suffering and so many things that are needed. So I
Yeah,
don't say limit it to one place if you're able to give, but
yeah.
um, definitely have a lot of that going on. Trying to think of another good question for you.
Ask me
Mm.
what my favorite food is.
I think I know that,
Do
but
you?
I'll ask it so we can put it on here. So,
It's pizza.
yes, pizza. And
So yeah, when I was in the hospital, somebody on my hospital room door put a big card that said, someone please bring me a pizza. And somebody did. And at the time, I had my mouth wired shut, and I had to
oh,
suck
that's
through a
fair.
straw.
Oh my God. Yeah.
So pizza mixed with water.
Not so good.
It's not so, no, no.
Right.
But that was like the first thing that I asked for when I got out of the
When you could
hospital.
eat, yeah,
Yeah.
right. Oh,
And
I can't imagine.
I mean, if you think about it, it's got the four food groups, right?
That's right. Everything you need is in that pizza. So, how much weight did you lose when you were in there? You had your mouth wired shut, so I'm assuming, you know,
Oh, yeah.
you weren't able to eat for months.
So I
Or
went from 150 pounds down to less than 90. Um,
wow.
yeah, it was like I was walking out of Auschwitz, not that it was that comparative from what they went through, but and what I went through, but yeah, I mean, it was a process, but the beauty is that I was young enough that my body would recover, and I was focused enough that I would push myself beyond my limitations. Every day I set a new finish line for myself to go a little bit further, to do a little bit more, or to do something else that would add to my recovery. And I think that's what a lot of people miss out on is that every day you have to set a new finish line for yourself. If you don't, you'll regress back to the old one. And it's, one step forward, two steps back.
Yeah,
Even
absolutely.
when you're in pain, you can push yourself.
You
Um,
have to.
yeah, I've
You
seen you do it.
I
Or
do it every day.
yeah,
But I mean, my theory is that, like everybody else, a body in motion stays in motion. And even if I'm bedbound for that day, I'm in there, I'm doing my leg exercises,
yeah,
just something to keep my body moving.
yeah,
So it's very important. But man, your
100%.
story definitely is so inspiring because I hope it inspires a lot of people here right now to, just because we're disabled doesn't mean that you can't do some of these events like you're talking about. So,
Right.
like I told you, well, if I can't push you down, I will, and or I'll make someone else take us. So, but
Yeah.
whatever. And
Well,
I'm
I
definitely
think,
about that.
you know, I don't know this for a fact, but I'm almost 100% certain that I'm the only endurance athlete with arachnoiditis. And that brings a lot, around and by endurance, I mean, I can go out on my bike and do an hour or two or more. It might not be at the fastest speed, but when I'm sitting in a chair, my foot is constantly moving. It's moving now under the table here,
Yeah,
just because it's the pain. It's almost like holding it over. You can't hold on your hand over a fire without moving it back and then shaking it, or hold on to a live wire and then go, wow, that hurts.
right.
That's our pain, right?
Yeah.
When
That's
I'm on
why
a
you see
bike,
me moving around constantly. It's
oh,
the same.
exactly.
Yeah.
When I'm on a bike, I my foot is constantly moving, and truly, that's the only time that I'm pain free. So I would
Mhm.
suggest, if you have pain in your foot, if your arachnoiditis is around the lumbar level and your pain is in your foot, which that's where the nerves go, at that level, try riding a bike and see if you're pain free. The best drug that I've found are the endorphins that I produce as a result of my exercise. They're the body's natural pain relievers. They happen when you run long distance, ride long distance, do anything from an endurance standpoint. They come out to give you the ability to go longer, faster, and harder. And
Right.
so, if we could synthesize one drug,
That would be it.
besides that would be
Okay.
it. Seriously.
Right.
I
No,
mean,
I know. Yeah.
who has not thought of that? I mean, can you imagine endorphins in a pill form? I would be,
That'd be amazing. Right.
yes. Yeah. I mean, and maybe that's the route that we kind of go towards.
Right. Might be. My son was like, Mom, you can have that stimulator placed in your head. Some new AI technology or something they're coming
Yeah.
out to help
Yeah.
with,
One of
paralyzed
the, yeah.
patients. Yeah. He's like, but maybe someday for you. Who knows? But,
Yeah.
with that being said, I was going to ask you for patients maybe that can't, physically get to the point where you're at now with endurance wise, would you recommend a certain sport for them to start?
Swimming.
Yeah,
There's no impact.
right. No impact.
It builds cardiovascular. You can lose weight, although the research that I did years ago, women tend to put on a little more fat when they, yeah,
Really? Oh,
as a result of, the water being colder and going longer, and their bodies wanting to be more buoyant. Fat increases buoyancy.
yeah.
Um, but the triathletes that I know, because they do, above ground or above water sports like running and cycling, they burn so many calories. And a lot of them get to the point where they're so aesthetic or so muscular with no fat,
Sure.
that, it's almost kind of dangerous. I remember when I first got measured for body fat when I was a hardcore triathlete back in the 80s, I was at 7%, which is super low.
Right.
Um, yeah, it can be dangerous. I mean, you want a healthy amount of fat because it does help you in long-term endurance sports. But
Right.
um, yeah, anyway, that's my advice. I would start with swimming,
Mhm.
then add walking because you want a little bit of body impact in the ground, and walking, uh, walk fast enough that you can maintain a conversation but not be out of breath.
Right.
And same thing with cycling. Cycling is low impact. People that can't run go to cycling and they do swimming because they may have knee problems or hip problems.
Sure.
So Yeah,
Any of the above.
yeah,
Do help that move.
and you can do it indoors with a trainer, or you can do it outdoors. And honestly, outdoors is probably my favorite because it's changing surroundings.
Right.
Um, but cycling can be a little bit dangerous. I've had my fair share of accidents. The last one was a 27-mile-an-hour impact head first into the tarmac. Had a traumatic brain injury, caused me significant changes. I went from loving ice cream to tolerating ice cream.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah,
that does not
weird.
sound fun.
I
Yeah,
know.
so weird.
I loved my Ben and Jerry's. Trust me.
Right?
Cherry Garcia was my favorite.
Yeah,
Yeah, dang.
I'm an ice cream person too. That would be really hard.
It was very hard. Yeah.
So now what's your favorite? If you can't have ice cream or don't really like ice cream, you go to popsicles or
Well, yeah, I mean, the funny thing is you mentioned popsicles. I had the hiccups so bad when I was in the hospital,
Mhm.
and it caused me so much, I was in so much pain, and the hiccups only added to it. Somebody gave me a popsicle, and it was something about sucking on the popsicle that ended my hiccups. So
Mm.
if that's my natural go-to,
Remedy now. Yeah,
absolutely, absolutely.
right,
So
yeah.
if you have experienced hiccups, which
Try
we
a
all have,
popsicle.
buy
Right?
a popsicle. You never know. Yeah, it
Never
was like a
know.
brain switch or something.
Yeah, maybe the ice, but yeah. Okay, what else can I ask you? Are we missing anything that you're thinking? Oh, on a
No, but we,
daily,
we are getting close on time.
darn, it goes by
We
so
we
fast.
have less than 2 minutes, so maybe we need to start the wrap up.
Okay.
I just figured out that we have a timer. So
Okay. Yeah, I'm like, where is the timer? I don't see it
yeah.
on my end, but okay.
So I will say this. If anybody has a story or they want to share their expertise, reach out to us on our Gmail account, which is arachnoiditis unfiltered at gmail.com. We also have a Facebook page, same name. We will shortly have a LinkedIn page, and we definitely have a YouTube page under the same name. So please look us up, share us with your friends. We want to gain a following, we want to make a difference. And, we look for stories, we look for medical professionals with expertise that they can share with us. But more than anything, we just look to make a difference and impact lives.
Yeah, we're here to help. We want to help any way we can.
100%. We don't discriminate against anybody in pain. We want to add them. So there we go, folks. Thank you, Sarah. It's
Right. All right. Thank you guys.